Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Boston Celtics absolutely wet the bed in Game 1 against the New York Knicks. In the second half of the doubleheader, the Thunder squared off against Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. And could the Chiefs' run in the AFC West be upended by a second-year quarterback? This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Boston Celtics looked to be on their way to a Game 1 win at home, and then the Knicks outscored them 30-23 in the third quarter, 25-16 in the fourth quarter, and pulled out a 108-105 Game 1 win in overtime. John Corrales from Locked On Celtics at the arena. And John, this was a Celtics team that had this game in control, it looked like, and then they could not make a shot. They missed 45 three-pointers in this game. And I feel like every time you and I talk, it's if the shots would have just gone a little bit differently one way or another, the game changes.
Look, there's some pure outlier shooting happening in this. The Celtics were 15 of 60 from three.
That's just crazy.
That is a ridiculous number. The Knicks made 2 more three-pointers on 23 fewer attempts. So there's some shooting variance at play. But look, we're not going to do the make-miss thing for these guys. They stopped running their offense is what happened. Their offensive rating prior to 75-55 was 120, which is elite. After they went up 75-55, it dropped to like 76, which is what a college team would look like if they got to share the floor with an NBA team. Brutal. I was asking, we just came out of post game. I asked them, were you guys trying to throw knockout punches? Because that's what it felt like to me. And Jalen said, there might be some truth to that. And it just felt like middle of the third quarter, they weren't even playing particularly great, but they were in control. And once they got up 20, it just felt like, oh man, a couple more three-pointers, playing to the crowd. The building was nuts. If you can get up 25 and you can push this thing to 30, it is over. And I think they just started going for the kill shots. But, we like to make our boxing analogies. If you keep swinging for the head and taking body shots as you're doing it, you wear down, and the Celtics wore down.
There was also a lot, you and I were saying before we came on air, a lot of settling late fourth quarter in overtime. Yeah. Jason Tatum at one point, I think, took 3 or 4 consecutive step back threes. And to your point, they stopped running the offense. Every time they did either try and get into the paint or actually run something, it felt like they were getting good shots. So when you come out of this, is it, hey, this is correctable, just make a couple more shots? Or, obviously you have to win now the extra game to make up here. So what is your takeaway for Game 2 here?
Yeah, it just feels like the same type of thing of discipline. And, this type of.
This has been something the Celtics have dealt with all season, by the way. This, we're going to get a big lead and then give it away because we stop playing.
Yeah. That was like a December, January kind of thing. Once they got to the All-Star break, like post All-Star break, this was different. They played with a lot better purpose post All-Star. This felt like the team, like they were giving a regular season effort in a playoff game once they got up 20. And I know 20 is the magic number, right? They get up 20 and I don't even want to say they relax. They just get away from the things that work. And you give a team like the Knicks some life and some confidence, and you get something like OG Anunoby hitting a bunch of three-pointers. He was 6 of 11 from three. That's not the guy that you want to leave. He's capable of hitting those shots. You want to leave Josh Hart, and he was 1 for 5 from three. They just left the wrong guys. They weren't playing with the discipline, the focus. So the takeaway for Game 2 is, stick to what works. Stick to whatever the defense is trying to, force you to, yeah, go ahead, take that advantage, create your advantage, and don't just settle, because they all admitted to settling at some points. Don't just settle for some of these shots. Honestly, in a collapse like this, you can look at probably 4 or 5 possessions in that third quarter that would have stopped the Knicks' run and would have changed the entire course of this game. But they didn't. They just kept going for that kill shot, and it cost them.
Over the last couple of years, and the Kristaps Porzingis piece was supposed to be part of the solution here, is the word on the Celtics was if the shots were falling, you were going to have a really hard time to beat them. And when they weren't, Boston had issues countering. They didn't really need to last year. Is this more of that? Because I feel like I hear Joe Mazzulla and I hear the players say, hey, we want like 63 pointers. That doesn't really bother them. This is who they want. They want to take this many threes.
Oh, yeah, they definitely want to take them. But the one thing the Orlando series showed me is the Celtics are capable of winning a different way. And they don't have to shoot three-pointers to win. But my whole feeling for the Celtics this entire season is whenever they try to force any particular shot, they fall into trouble. There was a loss in Oklahoma City where they had a similar second half collapse where they were trying to force rim, and they should have taken more threes in that game. In this game, they were forcing the three-point shot. Whenever the Celtics force one particular kind of shot, they get away from their offense. They could have still shot 63s in this game if they drove and kicked and swung. That would have been a natural generation of 63 pointers, which is what the Celtics offense can do. But if you force anything, if you force shots, if you force drives, you're going to get into trouble. The Celtics need to get to making the right read at the right time, and whatever shot that is, take that shot. And that wasn't what they were doing in the second half.
You can stay up to date all year on the Boston Celtics by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Celtics on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Thunder look to keep it rolling in round 2 against Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. Before we get to that, the Islanders lucked out. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever, and you can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. The New York Islanders hit the draft lottery jackpot with just a 3.5% chance. They vaulted from the 10 spot all the way to number 1, winning the top pick in this year's NHL draft. They're first since taking John Tavares in 2009. The last place Sharks, despite having the best odds, will pick second. For the Islanders, it's a massive swing of fortune during a front office overhaul and a pretty nice consolation prize for a .500 season and early summer tea times. The Knicks took a beating in their first round game against the Celtics, hung in, and came back to win.
So, Gavin, this game, 108-105, Knicks beat the Celtics. So many places to go with this. It ends up going to overtime. There's a would-be Jalen Brunson game winner at the end of regulation that just barely doesn't go in at one of his signature shots. Honestly, one of the best after-time out plays I think I've ever seen drawn up from Tibbs. So clearly he saved some of his best work for this game. This phenomenal defense from Mikal Bridges. Phenomenal defense and shot making from OG Anunoby, who just had his impact felt all over this game.
In baseball, the high-octane Cubs offense welcomed the Giants to Wrigley.
The offense was at it again on Monday night at Wrigley Field. I'm Sam Olber from the Locked On Cubs podcast, and after a shutout loss on Sunday, boom, the Cubs bounced back again on Monday with 9 runs, taking care of the Giants by a score of 9-2. The big story in this game, though, for me, is Dansby Swanson. Since being moved down to the 8 hole before last week, he is now 12 for 26. Give him credit. Who knows? Did that spark him or not? We'll never know. But it's an awful big coincidence, isn't it? The week he gets moved down in the order, he looks really good. I thought his hit, his broken bat single in the 4th to give the Cubs a 4-2 lead was the biggest hit of the game today. And Dansby deserves full credit. We're going to talk about him and his resurgence on the show tonight. So check it out. Cubs win another ball game.
And one of the greatest kickers in NFL history is now out of a job and under investigation. The Ravens released Justin Tucker on Monday, ending a 13-year run that included 7 Pro Bowls, a Super Bowl title, and the longest field goal in NFL history. Tucker's release comes as he faces sexual misconduct allegations from 16 massage therapists, all currently under investigation. Baltimore already drafted a new kicker in Tucker, once the league's most accurate leg, now finds himself in the midst of controversy. Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets hope to have more luck against the Thunder than the Grizzlies. Locked On Nuggets host Matt Moore recaps Denver's Game 1 in Oklahoma City.
Once again, the hero of the moments. Dude's on another level in these playoffs. It has been awesome, a privilege to watch Aaron Gordon play basketball this year.
God, he's insane. He's just insane. He's just the Russ making the pass, AG spotting up for that shot, knocking it down. What an incredible story. By the way, with Aaron Gordon on the floor tonight, the Denver Nuggets had a 17.5% offensive rebound rate. That's high. If you're 7
offensive rebounds for him alone, I believe. He was fighting the entire time. There were several possessions where it was him going up against the smaller wings on the Thunder, or just big boying Chet Holmgren, big boying Isaiah Hartenstein. It's incredible to watch him. And look, I don't care if anybody kills us for the takes that we had. Everything that we had was built in logic, and there was no logic that went into that win. Zero.
None. Zero. That game, Nikola Jokic had 7 turnovers and 6 assists in this game.
Yeah.
Now, Nikola Jokic also had 42 points and 22 rebounds.
Monster.
And was a monster.
Yeah.
Look, man, I got a history of the game that says that coming off of game 7s, you lose this game and you lose them badly. Teams that lost in this spot when they're not rested off 2 days rest and the opponent is rested, you know what the average margin of victory since 2003 is? 19 points per game. That's how often the other team wins.
And wins big.
And wins massive.
Yeah.
And the Nuggets just hung. And there were all these times when I was like, all right, well, the Thunder are going to hit him with a haymaker and then they'll go down.
Yeah.
And every time that OKC would push it to 14, Russ would make a play.
Yep.
AG would make a play.
Yep.
Christian would make a play. And it's back inside single digits. And they just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. And when you do that and you hang on, you can clown me all you want. I don't regret the analysis because it was reasonable to expect humans to be tired, to be exhausted after that series and that game and travel and in this spot for them to go down. It is not, in my opinion, a failure of my analysis. It is a credit to the heart, hustle, grit, and absolute stubbornness of the Denver Nuggets that they will not go away. This remains the most mentally tough team in basketball. And when they are faced with challenges like this, and when all odds are up against them, they respond. They responded. And it's absolutely incredible. Credit to David Adelman and the staff. Credit to all the players. But also, they were down by 14 for the majority of this game. And then in the last 5 minutes, the Thunder just absolutely imploded. All the experience stuff that I was hesitant because I was like, well, they're just so well executed and they're so well coached and they're so disciplined. They rush shots. They force
on it.
Like they miss all of these types of like key clutch things versus the Nuggets who are like, we need this play, make it happen. We need this play. Jokic, like jab steps Chet into, or no, it was iHeart into oblivion and nails that 3 to make it a 1-point game.
Like sometimes you just know what it takes. And I think, and I have certainly underrated the Nuggets throughout this entire process, and them understanding what it takes to win in some of these moments, especially these close games. Like they've lost a couple of close games, but in some of them they just didn't have it. This one, it felt like they, like for the entire time, just never gave an inch. There were a couple of times that they missed, like Russell Westbrook missed the 3-pointer in the left corner. And I thought, okay, like Aaron Gordon gets the rebound, goes up strong, doesn't finish because there's 2 guys around him. I thought, okay, that's it. That's the one. But then OKC just kept playing the foul game, and Mark Daigneault, like fouling very aggressively, very early in the shot, in the game clock.
Again, like that's so I'll just say this: that's everyone misunderstands Daigneault. I feel like, because I'm just like, guys, do you understand the reason he does all this stuff is because of how much he respects the Nuggets?
Sure.
That's why he's like trying to get Jokic away from all the quick action, because he knows how much it kills teams.
Yeah.
That's why he's fouling up 3, because he's like, I'm not giving Nikola Jokic a chance to win this game.
And like, I get it. Totally understand. But for OKC not to execute in that moment, also, by the way, very funny that the ball just dropped on that final missed free throw. The ball hits the floor in the middle of all the Nuggets. And I threw up my hands like, like, what are you doing? So it's the fact that this game went Denver's way is just incredible. Like I said this on social, this is probably the most incredible win of the Nikola Jokic era. Last 10 years. I cannot remember another one. People brought up the 7. This was like the 7 in a game 1 on the road against the best team in the NBA. The Utah game is a regular season game after the trade deadline. Nobody cares. This one, holy cow, man. The fact that they have the resilience to even find a way to get that done is just unbelievable.
Stay up to date all year on the Denver Nuggets by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Nuggets on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, which second-year NFL QB has the best chance to win his division? There are a multitude of second-year quarterbacks looking to make a statement this upcoming season. Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland tells Louis DiBiase why it's Bo Nix, not Jaden Daniels, will win his division in 2025.
Kansas City at some point in time, I think, will take a slight step back, and the rest of the division. Like the Chargers are a very good football team. I think the Raiders will be a very good football team. Look at the coaches in that division. Think about it. You know, Andy Reid and Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll. Like it's just, you know, and then, of course, you have Sean Payton, who, look, I have been a hater on the Broncos throughout the Sean Payton process, and I'm wrong about it. I'm wrong about it. He's really got them to a great spot, and I think Bo Nix is the guy who wins his division, not Jaden Daniels. Even if Jaden Daniels remains to be a slightly better player, the Broncos are just in a great spot.
Yeah, as the host of the Locked On Eagles podcast, I don't think people are going to be surprised that I'm going with the Denver Broncos. But it really is because the Chiefs have just been such an inconsistent regular season team over the last 2 years. And I'm not predicting the Broncos are going to win the division. I think it will be Kansas City. I love the additions they made in the draft. You know, Josh Simmons was a steal. I think Omar Norman-Lott was as well in round 2. They helped out the trenches on both sides. But yeah, they're just such an up and down team. And if they're yet again in all these one-score games next year, they'll win more than they lose. But are they going to just run the table almost like they did last season? I don't think so. And I think the NFC East got a lot better, right? I think the Giants got better. I think the Cowboys got better. I don't think the Eagles really regressed. So I think the Commanders did improve their roster as well, but I almost think there's a regression coming from the Commanders. I think they really overachieved last year, getting to the NFC title, where I think Denver is kind of on the right trajectory. So I'm going to agree here, and I think Denver would have the better chance of the two.
This is such a great example of why wins are not a quarterback stat. Because no one, probably not even Sean Payton, and I have the same feeling about Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix. Everyone believes, because we watched, that Jaden Daniels is better than Bo Nix. But it is totally reasonable to believe that the Denver Broncos will be better than the Washington Commanders this upcoming season, or at least they would have a better chance to win their division because the Philadelphia Eagles not going anywhere. Dak Prescott back for the Cowboys, and the less said about the Giants, the better. But that's the beauty of the sport. It's the beauty of football. One player doesn't have to do everything, though one player can often do a lot, less than maybe in the NBA. So I don't know where I come down on the Broncos winning their division versus the Commanders, but I definitely know I would take Jaden Daniels over Bo Nix, which is exactly why wins are not a quarterback. And finally, Kenny Atkinson took over a playoff team and turned it into a powerhouse. In his first year as head coach of the Cavaliers, Atkinson led Cleveland to 64 wins, the number one seed in the East, and now NBA Coach of the Year honors. He beat out the man he replaced, JB Bickerstaff. Not bad for someone who says he just stepped into this. With 3 All-Stars, a top-ranked defense, and a record-setting playoff sweep already under his belt, Atkinson's debut season was anything but lucky. But they did lose game 1 of their Eastern Conference semifinal series. So back at it, Coach. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, can the Cavs absorb the Pacers' punch and respond in Game 2? So at least until tomorrow, stay Locked On Sports Today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.